Hello everybody, I'm Fire Chief Ralph Terrazas of the LA City Fire Department, and we're here doing an end of the year Instagram live report. The last time we did this, it's been several months, so we thought it was about time to do another one. We do have a lot of things to cover, and thank you for all the questions. We got a lot of questions about a lot of different topics, so we'll go through our agenda, and then we will answer questions, and then we're going to pick 5 people to receive challenge coins. The challenge coins are personalized. You'll have the Fire Chief logo with my name on it, but more importantly is the seal of the LA City Fire Department, a fire department that I consider the greatest in the world. I know that some others may not have that opinion, but I do, and I'll back it up with anybody. So we'll get started first by recognizing 3 members who passed away this year. Every loss of life is such a tragedy, and this year we had a loss of Firefighter Francisco Aguilar, Firefighter Jose Perez, and Captain 1 Ray Van Blarkum. I did know Ray, I didn't know the other 2, but all 3 members were very highly respected, well liked. It breaks my heart when I have to go to these funerals and I see the families that they leave behind and the young children. It's so important that we do all we can to be safe and take care of each other, especially during COVID. Turning to that topic, the LAFD is deeply engaged in the COVID effort. As we speak, we support logistically 15 sites throughout the city. The busiest and the biggest site is at Dodger Stadium. Our total capacity each day is 39,000 people to test each day. To date, since March, we've tested 2.5 million people. To me, that's amazing. And we couldn't have done it without the core volunteers, led by actor Sean Penn. He has really got a great organization. They're really doing a lot of great work. And we're looking into the possibility of partnering with the LA County Department of Public Health Services so that we can provide vaccinations for the COVID virus. More to come on that. That still has not been decided. Now, in terms of COVID impact on our department, this morning I get a daily report, and this morning we're a little over 100 of our firefighters are in isolation. We have seen a significant spike like the rest of the country. We do believe it's because of the cold weather. It's because of various events that have led people to come together, like watching the Laker Championship or the Dodger Championship or Thanksgiving. Dr. Fauci says that it's a spike on top of a spike, and I agree with him. So we have plans in place to ensure that we have adequate staffing up to the point where we may even have to recall our people. And we've done that before when we have large brush fires for multiple days. So we're ready for that possibility. Now, what's new in 2020? We got a lot of questions about the helmets, the new helmets. We have our current helmet, and we have the one that we're going to move to. It's a traditional style instead of the contemporary style. Now, the traditional style is got a lot of built-in benefits. Has built-in eye protection. It's actually light. It's got a strap that we helped design, our department. It's been very, very well received in terms of our test groups out in the field. I took this decision very seriously because I know how important the symbolism of our helmet. Firefighter helmet will be yellow. We did consider other colors, but at the end of the day, I wanted a color that was bright in case our firefighter needed to be rescued. They would have every chance for success by having a bright helmet. So we do have money in place, and we'll start purchasing the new helmet early next year. The next new thing that will be new in 2021 is our electric fire engine. We expect to receive that in June of next year. We are currently ensuring that Fire Station 82 has the necessary power supply to quick charge the new Rosenbauer electric fire engine. When we announced our agreement with Rosenbauer, it gained a lot of attention. We are the leaders in the fire service, and electric power is the future. I was actually able to drive that apparatus at Dodger Stadium, and it is fast. It is extremely fast, and it brakes extremely fast as well. The thing that makes it kind of unusual is the way it looks. I don't like that lime green look. It's going to be red, trust me. It looks like an RV too. It doesn't look like your traditional fire engine, but it is very maneuverable. It has a tight turning radius. The power, when you get down to 40% of remaining power, the onboard diesel generator kicks in to bring up the power. It also generates power when you brake. So I'm not concerned about running out of power. When you go back into quarters, it'll have that rapid charging system. So I'm sure that it's going to work great. We're going to be partners with Rosenbauer. We're going to fine tune it. Then other fire departments across the country and the world can benefit from our learning experience with this new apparatus. The next topic is the RS3. You may have seen that in multiple media outlets. I saw a robot at the Notre Dame fire in Paris last year. I saw it on TV, and they were using it because they were concerned about firefighters being inside the building if the walls were going to collapse. And I've been the incident commander at many fires where I had that same concern. I had to pull our people out, and we had to fight the fire from the exterior with our ladder pipes and our wagon batteries. When I saw this piece of equipment, I thought, you know, we need to get one of those things because it would be safer for our firefighters. We could continue the firefight from interior of the building, put the fire out quicker, use less water. The RS3 flows much more water than the one in Paris. It has infrared. There's a lot of benefits, and actually could use it to clear away a pathway too. I've seen it push aside cars. I think it's a great tool. We have deployed it twice now, and we're going to learn. We're going to learn the capabilities. We're going to learn the things it can't do. One of the recent events that we sent it to, an incident, we learned it doesn't work underwater. So we had to figure it out the hard way, but that's what we learned. We'll get better with it, but the bottom line is I want to use technology to make it safer for our firefighters and make our firefighting more effective and efficient. The unmanned aerial system update, or drones, we are currently in the progress of deploying tethered drones to Command 22 and 42. Tethered drone is a drone that has a line from the command rig to the drone up in the sky, and it's a power line. So it'll stay airborne for days. The manufacturer told me that they've had it up in the air for as long as a month continuously. So of course we're not going to have any incident that lasts that long, but the benefit of this is that when the Command 22 or 42 gets on scene, it's because it's a large incident. And usually those large incidents take a long time if it's a structure fire to put out the fire. But they can immediately launch it and get a video to the back of the command post on their rig. And they'll have greater situational awareness on which they can base their command decisions. I know that when I was an incident commander at these types of fires, I would have appreciated the aerial viewpoint so I could see the roof operations myself. So that's exciting. I'm looking forward to that happening relatively soon. Brush fires, as we speak, we do have a Santa Ana condition today, and expected to end tomorrow, late tomorrow. We are pre-deploying resources in the brush areas of the city. But I'm very proud of all the advances we've made in the past few years, all the technology that we use to fight brush fires. Upon the dispatch of a brush fire dispatch, when we get that 911 call, we start running an algorithm we call Wildfires. That tells us where the fire is and where it's going. We need to know that because it increases our situational awareness in case we have to evacuate. The next piece of technology that helps us is called FIRUS, and that's fixed wing airplanes that are launched that fly above the helicopters that fly the perimeter of the fire and then send down images to MFC, Metro Fire Communications. I also get those images on my phone. So you can see we have real-time situational awareness visually through FIRUS. It tells us how big it is, and it'll fly up there for as long as it has fuel. And then they come down, refuel, and go back up. FIRUS is hosted by the Los Angeles City Fire Department at our MFC. We call it the Southern California Wildfire Fusion Center. So we'll cover the southern part of the state to ensure that they have the benefits of FIRUS. And then the other thing about brush fires, and we've been doing this now in my entire tenure as fire chief, is upon receiving a text from Chief Fennessy, Osby, or Lorenzen, they represent Orange County Fire Authority, LA County Fire Department, Ventura County Fire Department. I'll send strike teams immediately. And the benefit of this is that it's much faster to get people on the road to stop the spread of the fire. Simultaneously to our dispatching, we do make a request through the IROC system to get that request documented. But we learned 5-6 years ago that it's faster to send a text, and we make it happen that way. We have great partners in the region. We're very fortunate that they're our partners, and I look forward to future collaborations with them. It is cold weather fire safety season. You know, we recently had a death from somebody using an outside heater indoors. Some people have even used barbecues, and that's where you get carbon monoxide poisoning. So I want to make sure that you understand that it is a big threat and you should not do that. You also should be very thoughtful about the typical hazards we have during Christmas time. Having a dry Christmas tree in your house, you don't want it to be near any open flames, away from heater vents, away from electrical cords. Use electrical cords. I know you light up your trees, I do too, but make sure it's UL certified cords to make sure that they're safe. So be very, very careful. Related to that is our Spark of Love program. This year it's different because of COVID. We can't have people coming to the station and dropping off toys because they may be infected with a virus, and we don't want to have, maybe a firefighter might have it, they may spread it to the person donating the toy. But if a toy is brought to the station, we will take it to Toy Central at our training center near Dodger Stadium, and we'll either sanitize it or we'll put it in quarantine for 5 days before we give the toy away. So that is, it'll be interesting to see how many toys we get. This year, more than ever, the Spark of Love toy program is critically important. Many people out there are struggling financially because of the COVID pandemic, and we need to step up and help fill this void so that we can make the holidays a little bit nicer for people in that situation. Now, the other question I have here is about new initiatives maybe coming. You know, we're not really planning anything new. We've put in a lot of things in play for the past few years. My plan, because of the impact on the economy and the impact on our budget, is to just maintain what we're doing. And we are using different methods to save money in our budget. Next year's budget outlook is looking bleak as well, but we believe that the COVID pandemic will be a recovery in the following fiscal year. Now let's get to some of the questions, and I see a lot of questions here. I just saw them a few minutes ago, so I'm anxious to give you my feedback. Number one, what are the top 3 pieces of advice you'd give to an aspiring company officer and chiefs? You know, that's a good question, and I say the same thing. Every time I promote into the captain rank or chief rank, I tell them leadership is really 3 things. Lead by example, know your stuff, and take care of your people. If you do those 3 things continually, you're going to gain the respect of the people that you work for. And I don't consider myself as the boss. I work for the 3,500 sworn and 500 civilian members of our department. So if you remember, lead by example, know your stuff, and take care of your people. If you do that, you will be successful, trust me. Your people will work hard for you if they know that you truly care about them. Question number 2, when fighting wildfires, how do you also keep enough firefighters in the city? Good question. You know, sometimes it's difficult. There was one year when we had USAR task force out in Houston, and then they ended up in Florida, and that was during brush season. That was over 100 firefighters not only out of the city, they were out of the state. And then we had multiple brush fires up and down the state, so we had strike teams there, and then we had a threat inside our city. And then on top of that, I recall we had a USC Trojan football game, over 100,000 people, and we had to supply the ambulances there for standby. So how do you do that? Well, you got to manage your staffing. When necessary, we'll use recall. That means you're not going home in the morning. You're going to stay for as long as necessary until we get through this challenge. I'm very fortunate that our firefighters are very enthusiastic and positive, and they'll step up when there's a real emergency. And we've had real emergencies with these brush fires, with civil unrest, with earthquakes. So it's not unusual for us. Thank you for that question. What are you most excited about that the LAFD will be doing in 2021? I'm most excited about the electric fire engine. I think that's going to have a big impact, followed by more adventures of the RS3. So I think those two things are very visible pieces of equipment that will make a big change in how we fight fires and how we supply fire engines. Like I said before, I think electric energy is the future. Question number 4, why was the job title changed from chief engineer to fire chief? You know, I don't know the answer to that question. I do prefer fire chief versus chief engineer. You know, when you hear chief engineer, you think of somebody who's an engineering student or something like that, or maybe even the driver of a locomotive, right? Fire chief, it's pretty clear. You know, you're a fire chief. And sometimes I get the question when I'm asked, what do I do? And I'm off duty, and I'll say, I'm a firefighter. And they say, well, you're kind of old for a firefighter. And I say, yeah, I know, but firefighting is what I always wanted to do, and I'm living the dream. Eventually, sometimes they pin me down and ask, well, what exactly do you do? And I tell them, I'm the fire chief of the greatest fire department in the world, the LA City Fire Department. Thank you for that question. Let's see. Would you go back to working at a fire station? I would do that in a minute, if I could. I did do that last Christmas at Fire Station 20. When I promoted to battalion chief, I felt a sense of sadness because I wouldn't be able to ride on fire trucks and fire engines anymore. But I knew I had to move forward, and I was looking for greater challenges. And I don't regret it, but the one thing I miss all the time is the ability to be in a fire station, experience the camaraderie with the men and women of our department, to train, to go to incidents, to play handball, to enjoy meals, to share each other's lives. You know, that's our second family, and you really develop strong bonds. So I know a lot of you are interested in becoming future firefighters. I'll tell you, it's the greatest job in the world. I love it. I look forward to coming to work, and I hope you get to experience the same thing. Next question, if a female firefighter becomes pregnant, is she allowed to continue to work? We give them that option to work in the special duty. You're no longer in a fire station. So, you know, we can't have further or potential injury to somebody who's pregnant. They may go to a fire and then breathe in some toxic smoke, It's just safer for the mother and the baby to do special duty for as long as they can, and then they can go on maternity leave. So that's not a barrier to becoming a firefighter. What retraining has the LAFD done since the Boyd Street incident? Boyd Street was the fire in Skid Row, and for those of you who saw the video, it was like a blowtorch effect. I have never seen, nor has anybody else seen, a fire act that way in my 37 years. When I saw the video of our firefighters retreating down Truck 9's aerial and the fire engulfing them, I had a couple of thoughts. The first one, number one, I was amazed they survived. I thought they would have been killed. And by the grace of God, they did survive. The second thing was our turnout coats and our turnout pants did a good job. They were never expected to withstand direct flame impingement for as long as they did. And overall, very impressed with the technology and the vendor and the coats and the pants. The third thing that I took away was that we got to stop this from happening again. So what do? So we immediately had all fire companies throughout the city survey their districts looking for these types of occupancies. And we had almost 400 businesses identified and submitted to our Fire Prevention Bureau. We believe about 10% of those were not in our system, and we immediately inspected and required the appropriate signage on the outside of the building to indicate hazardous material storage was inside. We also closed down some businesses because they had a huge amount of hazardous material inventory that was extremely flammable and was well outside the code, and it was not safe for not only our firefighters but for the workers who worked in that building as well as the public who may go to that building. So we learned a lot. The last thing I'll end on this is that the after action report, every significant incident where we lose a firefighter or have a major injury, we really critically analyze what did we do and what can we learn from this. So we had a very thorough after action report. We identified all the pros and cons and what can we do. And one major takeaway is we got to wear our firefighting gloves. And the Fire Foundation has purchased $1 million of the latest firefighting glove technology. So early next year, all our firefighters will be receiving 2 sets of the latest gloves. So we learned a lot, and we do that every time we have a major incident. Thank you for that question. This question is interesting. Who is my hero? And, you know, my hero is my dad, without a doubt. Hardworking, never complained, no matter if he wasn't feeling well or something, his knees or his back hurt, he always went to work. And he came home with a great attitude. And he was my coach in sports teams, and he's still with us. I just saw him yesterday, and I visit him on a regular basis. He's 87 now. But I've told him that Dad, you're my hero. And I encourage all of you, if you feel that way about a parent, you tell them. You know, don't tell them after they're gone, like at a memorial service. Tell them while they're with you, and tell them why. And I respect my dad so much. He made me go to college. You know, I thought at the time I had a better idea, but you know, in hindsight, he was right. He provided a house, food, and support for me and my brother. So without a doubt, it's my dad. He's my hero. Next question is, what is the most heavily used apparatus? Well, without a doubt, it's our ambulances, our 800 EMT ambulances. They run the majority of our calls, and that's what they're designed to do. As young firefighters, many times we have a pair of firefighters on an 800 rescue ambulance. That's what we call our EMT ambulances. And you may only have a couple years between the both of you. You have a lot of independence. We're putting a lot of trust in you, and the public is expecting a lot of you. So I look at it as a great opportunity for growth, for independent thinking, for making critical decisions. And by far, that's the busiest apparatus in our department. Next question was there any specific moment you said, damn, this is the job for me? Good question. And I will say, yes, there was. And I vividly remember that. I was 8 years old in the 3rd grade at Gulf Avenue School in Wilmington. And it was career day. And Engine 38 came to my playground at Gulf Avenue. And they handed me a 1-inch hose line and said, "Go ahead and squirt, kid." And I remember thinking, man, this looks pretty fun. You know, I saw the firefighters enjoying each other's company. I got to sit on the fire engine. I got to flow water. And I made my decision at that point. That's what I wanted to do. And I'll tell you, it served me well. As I progressed through high school and college, you sometimes have temptations to hang out with the wrong people or to do drugs or anything of that nature. And I always thought, no, I can't do that because I want to be a firefighter. And that something like that will disqualify me when they look into my background. So I was lucky. People respected me for that and didn't try to pressure me to do something I didn't want to do. And I encourage all of you, be thinking about that. Some decision you make in high school or in college could disqualify you from consideration for becoming a firefighter. So it's an important lesson. I was very fortunate. My dad, my hero, encouraged me at all times, as well as my mom, and it worked out. I'm living the dream. Are there any service dogs in the LAFD? We do have multiple types of dogs. We have canine dogs, we have accelerant dogs, and just this week I approved a comfort dog. A comfort dog is used for people who are experiencing PTSD or they're depressed. We've used these before for large campaign brush fires, and the culture of the firefighting service isn't one where you're able to freely show your emotion or weaknesses. A dog breaks through all of that. You know, when they see a dog, they want to pet it and hug it, and they feel better. So I figured, why not try this out? You know, we've done a lot in the area of mental health, and the Comfort Dog is the latest addition to our behavioral health team. We have now 4 behavioral health medical professionals. We have about 150 peer support people, and now we have a Comfort Dog. So, good question. Thank you for that. What is your favorite event to attend as a fire chief? You know, COVID has changed everything, so we don't really have too many public events, but I'll tell you, during normal times, Fire Service Day, without a doubt. Fire Service Day, and I think it's become even more active in recent years than it was earlier in my career. In my first interaction with Fire Service Day, it was shortly after that experience I told you about at Gulf Avenue School when I was 8 years old. I told my dad about it, and he took me down to the boat station on Terminal Island when I was a little bit older, maybe a year older, so I was probably 9, 10 years old. And I got to get on the fireboat, I got to take a tour of the fire station, I got to put out a little fire with an extinguisher, and my dad took me because he knew I wanted to become a firefighter. And I always share that story when I speak at Fire Service Day events because it tells people that, yes, at a young age, we can impact some little boy or girl who may not even consider being a firefighter, but we can impact them to maybe someday they'll want to be, and maybe they'll love it as much as I do. So that's my favorite event. Next question, if you could do any other job, what would it be? You know, I used to think I wanted to be a professional football player. I was pretty good in high school. I was all city. I went to Banning High School, city champs, all that stuff. And then I went to San Diego State, and I played there for a year, and I realized everybody's good at that level. And I started thinking, you know, maybe I'm not going to have a career in the NFL. So I decided at that point, I better be thinking about what I really wanted to do all along, was to become a firefighter. So I graduated from San Diego State with a degree in public administration. And then I got hired almost immediately thereafter. And then about a few years, maybe 8, 9 years after I was hired, I went back to college and I got my master's degree at Cal State LA in public administration. And I've used all of that information and that education to do my job now. So it worked out. My friends who went on to play in the NFL, their career ended after 4 or 5 years. And now I'm doing something that I love to do for 37 years. So I think I win. You know, I think that was a good choice. And I'm not as beat up physically as they are. Let's see, what was an important lesson you learned very early? Good question. On the fire department, I'll start with that. I was hired in December of 1983. And I think that the lesson I would share is something I just treat everybody and their home like it's yours. No matter if you're in South LA or if you're in Bel Air, treat them equally professional with respect. Don't make decisions based upon their lifestyle or their living conditions. We're here to serve, to protect lives and property. It doesn't say to protect lives and property for those people that we like. It's everybody. So I would say that's the most important lesson that you should know. Last question is, what was the hardest part about being the fire chief in 2020? Wow, you know, that's a deep question. I'll say we've been challenged with COVID, of course, with the George Floyd civil unrest, with brush fires up and down the state, and now we're challenged with the budgetary impact that it's having on our department. So of all those things, I would say COVID has had the most significant, long-lasting impact in our city, in our country, and in the world. The good news is that we're close to having vaccines, and I'm very hopeful and proud that we'll have a role in providing vaccines to the people of Los Angeles. And then also I want to emphasize that we will have an upcoming live Instagram about hiring on the LAFD, and that'll be through the Join LAFD component of our department. Now we're going to pick 5 people to win this challenge coin, and it's legit, it's not fixed. So it's rotating names, and we're going to pick 5, and all I got to do is hit this button, and John 95 is the first winner. That's JON 95. The second winner is saucy.com. That's SAUCY.com. The third winner is Justin RBI 2. Justin RBI 2, that's winner number 3. Winner number 4 is, I don't know how you say this. Yay, it's Emily. That's YAAAI. Now our last winner is Ariano 818. It's ARELLANO 818. We will DM the winners to make sure that you get your challenge coin. And I look forward to seeing you next time on Instagram Live with the Fire Chief. Take care and be safe.